And we're live. Welcome to the Lawson Show. We're going to talk about NFL Week 1, and I felt like Week 1 was crazy. We saw some things we expected. We expected bad conditioning. We expected some crazy scores that no one could have predicted. But one thing I was pleasantly surprised about was the officiating. I felt like the officiating has been quite good, especially in these first few weeks of the NFL season. So, I mean, whenever you can see a game that's somewhat clean, I'm not talking about the play on the field, but clean from an official perspective, I'll take it for week 1. I mean, yes, it does look like it's going to be the normal rule. It's going to take, how can we say this, 3 or 4 weeks to really get the players in rhythm, but the officials look good. They were eating more flags this week 1, and I think that's always a positive. So I'll start there. Now, at one game I want to start with, I want to get your guys' opinion, was that New England Miami game. I was extremely disappointed with Miami, and credit to New England for winning that game. You don't want to take away credit from Cam Newton and the hoodie Bill Belichick. But was I the only one who was extremely disappointed with Miami? We know Devontae Parker, he ended up getting hurt during the game, and that hurt the comeback in the last, when did he go out? Like the third quarter? So that was an issue, but I'm still very, very disappointed with Miami. Then you look at that division, and we're going to talk about Bills Jets. Credit to the Bills, credit to Josh Allen, even though he had 2 huge fumbles in this game and he's still a turnover and big mistake waiting to happen. But man, what is going on with the Jets? If someone came to me and said the Jets are the worst team in the NFL, I couldn't disagree with them. It would be very hard for me to make an argument that the Jets aren't the worst team in this league. I think they had the worst performance week 1 in this league. They just weren't competitive. And Josh Allen, like I said, he made mistakes and he kept the Jets in the game. But the Jets weren't even competitive. And they couldn't even run it against a semi-weak Bills front seven. It really was embarrassing for the Jets. I think the Jets were the most embarrassing team of week 1. And if you're a Jets fan, you probably just want to go back in hibernation. And my thoughts on Sam Darnold are highly negative. But anytime he did make that play, anytime he did make a play against the Bills, a receiver would drop it. We saw penalties against the Jets. And Sam Darnold isn't my big problem with the Jets. We're to the point with the Jets that they just don't have enough talent is the first reason. But the second reason is that they're just not getting good enough coaching. And this team looks lost. You would think they might have practiced 3 or 4 days by the looks of it against the Bills. Even the Jets defense, which is coached by the great Greg Williams, looked terrible and garbage tier. So, man, I got to say the Jets might have had the most embarrassing performance of week 1. And speaking of embarrassing performances, the Minnesota Vikings against the Packers. I did pick the game. I told you guys Green Bay was going to come in here and get the victory. I felt like it would be a comfortable victory for the Packers. But this Vikings team, it's what I said it was. Adding Ngakoue doesn't make a damn bit of difference because the secondary isn't good enough. Mike Zimmer's not good enough. And certainly Kirk Cousins isn't good enough. And then you saw the Vikings get away from the running game. They were running it really good in the first half. They get away from the running game, and then you get that end result. And then you also have Kirk Cousins. He's just literally every snap, he just focuses in and only looks at Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen is not Jerry Rice. He is not an elite receiver, even though he's a damn good receiver in this league. He's not enough to carry a whole team. And that's where my Minnesota Vikings are at. Someone has to emerge to help them. Rudolph needs to be targeted, but this Vikings team just isn't very good this year. And I've been trying to make it clear to you all off season the Vikings are not good. And adding people like Ngakoue doesn't make a damn bit of difference. It doesn't. It's just window dressing for a team that is at this point dead. And even in the soul of the team, the whole energy of the team, it just seemed dead. And Green Bay's offense, I don't feel like Green Bay's offense was stopped the whole day. The only time the Green Bay offense was stopped was on a 4th and inches situation on the Vikings goal line. Vikings get the big stop, and then Kirk Cousins takes a safety the next play on a play action. So that really sums up the game. The one time the Vikings made a stop, made a big play on defense, Kirk Cousins gives up a safety. It was bad. It was about as bad as you can get from a performance from the Minnesota Vikings, but I am not surprised. And the Minnesota Vikings, they're not going to get a lot of heat this week because whenever you lose to Aaron the Game Rodgers, people don't complain too much. But secondly, the Jets look so bad that it's hard to pick on the Vikings after I watched the Jets too. So yeah, those are my opening remarks. If you want me to answer any question you have about week 1, make sure you leave it. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. That Eagles-Washington game was crazy. I listen, I was high on what Washington was doing, the Redskins, whatever you want to call them. I was high on what they were doing all off season. Then it started spiraling out of control. Adrian Peterson caught just a lot of stuff going on in the background there. Riverboat Ron with cancer, but give it to them. But I think this says more about the Eagles than it does the Redskins. I told you all year Redskins are going to be good for us to cover point spread. They're going to get a lot of +8s, +10s. They're going to be good for us to cover point spreads. But this says more about the Eagles. When I talked about the Eagles going into this week, I used one word to describe them: inconsistent. And that's exactly what these Philadelphia Eagles are. And the way they died in this game after being up 17-0 on a really, really bad Washington team is pathetic. There's no other words to talk about. It's just one of those things that the Eagles tend to do. It reminded me of last year against the Miami Dolphins. And you just wonder, are the Eagles tough enough? You don't see them really running the ball all that great anymore. And you got questions about the Eagles. When are they going to get back to that physical football that brought them to the Super Bowl? And how vulnerable is this defense this year? If Dwayne Haskins can put up 24 points on you in a half, you got a little bit of an issue, especially if you're up 17-0. Thank you. Someone saying I look good without the beard. I appreciate it. JB123100 says Cleveland's garbage. Yeah, I agree. But the Ravens are going to do what they do. And the biggest problem with Cleveland was Kevin Stefanski at head coach. I kept reiterating that to you guys. Some people wanted me to take the Browns in the upset video. Absolutely not, because I don't believe in Kevin Stefanski, and I never believed in Baker Mayfield. But let's just take this away from Baker for a second. How do you expect him to succeed with a man like Kevin Stefanski leading the way? Maybe I'm being a hater. The Browns fans will come in here and say, just want one game, Lawson, just one game. Calm down. But in reality, you can't calm down because he never deserved this job to start with. And plus, that team didn't look too motivated. And whenever you get blown out, it's just pathetic, especially since the Ravens didn't play any preseason games. The Ravens are coming in here fresh too. You think that mystery would create a little bit of equality between the teams, but there was none, even though the Browns have immense talent. But coaching will outdo talent in this league any day of the week. Any day of the week. Yeah, Kermit the Frog ass motherfuckers. And then we got, the Ravens were 38, Browns were 6. That's just ugly. I saw a little bit of it. I saw Baker's interception. It was just the Browns are just cringe this year. There's no other words about it. Upset I was flirting with was the Jaguars against the Colts, and the Jags got it done. But this says, listen, I don't want to beat my chest and act like I'm Nostradamus, but I told you guys all season, Phillip Rivers isn't a quality quarterback anymore. I don't even know if he's a legit starter at this point, given what's going on and happening within the league. And I think Phillip Rivers proved that full stop. Well, yes, Minshew made plays. Yes, that Jags offense made plays, but Philip Rivers was one of the problems with the Colts. And then he's got the turnover. That's just what he has, and he always keeps opposition teams in games. The Jaguars were kept in that game due to turnovers by Philip Rivers. So yes, I am concerned about the Colts. I am concerned about Philip Rivers. We got to watch the Titans tonight. Titans against the Broncos is going to tell a lot of what's going to happen in this AFC. Let's see how good the Titans are, because it looks certainly after this first week, this is the Titans' division to lose. I mean, Titans could come out and lose to the Broncos tonight very easily. I don't think it will happen, but it could easily happen. But I still feel like this is the Titans' division to lose. Nothing has really changed my mind, especially after that big haul of Jadeveon Clowney. There is absolutely nothing that will change my mind. Zamora 6090 says, I need the Titans to hit a 14 parlay. Well, you got a good shot, but as you saw in week one, some teams are just not prepared to play, unfortunately. Cash Money says, I made so much money on the Raiders. Yeah, but you had a swap for that. I placed that too, and I'm happy it came to fruition. I'm happy they were able to win. But I was sweating a lot with that bet because the Ravens on defense was just a little bit too bad for me. And I'm a little bit concerned if I'm a Raiders fan. Raiders won me a lot of money last year. And listen, I'm still riding the train. I rode it week one. I got a good payday from it. But I am a little bit cautious about the Raiders. We need to be after the Panthers were able to put up points like that. You want to give credit to the Panthers. You know the Panthers have explosive players like Moore and McCaffrey. But allowing a Teddy Bridgewater offense to explode on you is a little bit embarrassing. There's no other way to cut it and finagle it. It is a little bit embarrassing. The Raiders are still winning us money, but let's be cautious about that. Vegas spread picks, I'm going to do them late tonight. I'll make sure they're up tomorrow morning for you. Abdul G says, you were right about Rivers. Yeah, thank you. I've been right about Philip Rivers for 2 or 3 years. If 4 or 5 years ago, I used to put Philip Rivers in my top 5 quarterbacks, but he's just not at that point anymore. He doesn't have the arm strength. But I'm also worried about him mentally. I think maybe it's a mental problem and the arm strength problem because he tries to force throws that his arm has no business making, but also a lot of it's bad reads. And for a quarterback who has no mobility, he loves hanging on to that rock. He hangs on it 4 or 5 seconds back there, and he's just not good enough with his footwork to manipulate the pocket. So at a certain point, you just wonder, well, what can Philip Rivers really do? What does he really offer? I don't think he offers a whole lot. Yeah, so we talked about that Jags game. That Jags game was quite interesting. We got an Eagles fan in here, and listen, it was between my most pathetic teams of the week is between the Eagles and the Jets. You can take it or leave it, whichever one you want to go with. Both were pathetic. Both were bad. Both were. But I don't know which way you guys will go. Comment down below. Maybe you can change my mind either way. I'm still going with the Jets because at least the Eagles started the game ready to play. The Jets really never showed up. D-Battis, Eagles fan here. Wentz is trash, 2 fumbles, 2 INTs. Yeah, 4 turnovers is too much in a game. It is too much in a game, but come on now. You could still be up 17-0 and have 4 turnovers and be able to beat the Redskins. But I think some of it has to come back to Wentz. But I think a lot of it, to me, is going back to Peterson, and a lot of it's going back to Howie Roseman, if that's his name. It's just the player selection the last 2 years, 2 years of this franchise, just the drafts, the free agencies. It's just been really, really unproductive. And it is one game. It is one game, DC Cheever. But I don't know, man. I don't know about Philip Rivers because he's not going to age better as the season goes on. Defenses are going to get quicker. Parlay King 513 says, "What's up? What's up, man?" Just got a pretty good payday. Took some L's in week one, but took a lot more wins. And I bet 6 games. I was 4-2 on the games I bet. Normally, I don't really bet that many games, but I was just in a little bit of a mood this weekend. So 4-2, I'll take it. Although there were some teams that really disappointed me. We're going to keep going through the games. Bears Lions. I didn't see much of this. Maybe someone can enlighten me, but I saw the Lions were up big. Like, weren't the Lions up like 23-6, something along those lines? And the Bears just put up a 21 spot in the fourth quarter. That's absolutely insane. How does Matt Patricia let that happen again? How? Can someone enlighten me how the hell that went down? Because remember that game against Arizona last year? Detroit, week 2, was on the road to Arizona. Detroit had like a 24-point lead, and then in the second half, they blow it against the Cardinals. Matt Patricia, he doesn't belong in an NFL job, and I've been saying this for the last 2 years, and we know the roster is not all that great, but Matt Patricia has spent plenty of money. If you were on the practice squad with the Patriots, you're getting a big payday from Detroit. I think eventually this man has to pay for what he destroyed with the Detroit Lions, because the Detroit Lions were nothing great. They were mediocre, but they were reliably mediocre. Now, you're wondering, well, are the Lions worse than the Jets? I mean, that's how bad the Lions are right now. I mean, Parlay King 513, Jacks +8 was the lock of the week. I mean, I picked a +8. Don't get me wrong, my man, but with the Jags, you always have to worry about motivation. I was happy to see them come out and play hard for Dougie Marrone. And I agree with C Henny 06. The Packers was the lock. The Packers was the one I was really trying to get on you guys to bet, because the Vikings are my team. The Vikings are my team, and I would love to come on here and say the Vikings were going to smash the Packers. But the evidence just was pointing to the other direction. I mean, everything with it. And pretty much what I said would happen, happened. But the Packers whipped the Vikings' ass more than I thought they would. So I think we can learn stuff about that. I don't think we need to like shit on the Vikings too much. I think we can use that game for our advantage. I think we can get some good point spreads on the Vikings games. I think we'll keep getting some good point spreads on the Jags games. I think we'll keep getting some good point spreads on the Raiders games. So let's see if we can exploit it, but no need to be desperate about it, and no need to completely dig the hole and have a funeral because a team loses week 1. The only team I'm having a funeral for right now is the Jets, because the Jets didn't show up. Like, there just wasn't any positives to take. So I understand losing is losing and no one likes it and you shouldn't accept it. But there's also some elements where you have to take the positives and you have to have a long vision. You can't just have tunnel vision about everything. But the Jets are the one team you guys need to stay the hell away from, because I watched every single snap of that game. And goddamn, guys, it was hideous. Zamora 6090. Lawson, are you on Spotify or TuneIn Radio, or it's just YouTube? It's just YouTube, but I should get on Spotify. I saw Spotify gave Joe Rogan a ton of money. Lawson, what happened to coming on the show? Yo, I got busy this weekend, so. But yeah, live streams, you can come on. If you leave your email, you can come on right now or next time I'm going live. It's just got a little busy this weekend, so because the weekends I work. My job is betting, so I was watching a lot of soccer and doing things along those lines, watching a lot of NFL. So this is how I make my money. So Saturday, Sunday, Friday, I'm kind of working, and soccer's on every day, so I'm always kind of working. Jets is trash. I agree. Jets made Josh Allen look like A-Rod. I agree. Even though Josh Allen actually fumbled 2 times, it was just cringe. Now, what games did I forget? And leave your questions if you want me to answer your questions. Make sure you hit that like button so the video will spread. Seahawks Falcons. I mean, isn't this vintage Falcons? I didn't bet this game because I understand the implications of the Falcons, but I did think the Falcons would have a better performance than this, but credit to the Seattle offense, but this is the same old Falcons with us, and you have to approach any Falcons game you want to bet with reluctancy. Same with the Eagles, because both teams have talent, but they're both really, really inconsistent, and they can't play defense anymore. It's a real big problem. I'm actually more excited about the Eagles defense than I am the Falcons defense. And Russell Wilson, I think this is the year he might make that march to the MVP. If you guys are trying to do a future bet on who's the MVP going to be, maybe Russell America Wilson. I mean, I felt like he had a brilliant game against the Falcons, but this is the Falcons. They are who we thought they were, although I thought they would somehow steal this game. Mike Jones, do you think the Bucs shit the bed? A little bit. The turnovers from Brady were unexpected. The first interception where someone hit his arm, then the ball flailed on Mike Evans was worrisome, but it's understandable. It's something that's going to happen if you're standing in that pocket, battling, trying to push the ball downfield. The second interception was really, really troublesome because when was the last time we've seen Brady throw a pick like that? Maybe against Miami last year, one really egregious, but like Brady only threw like 8 picks last year. He threw 2 already. So I was worried about that, but let me bring it back. The thing I was worried about most was Todd Bowles' defense. I mean, the Saints were able to run it. They were unable to contain Kamara in open field. And those were the signs that worried me because I thought this Todd Bowles defense was going to come in and be very, very serious. They weren't serious. So I felt like too much was put on Brady's shoulders. And then, was that the best game we've ever seen Mike Evans play? I mean, that was the worst I've ever seen Mike Evans play. And I know he was coming into this game with a hamstring. Maybe they need to hold him out a little bit longer because he did not look ready. And he really didn't help Tom. But I think there's still some positives to take. Because did any of you guys see some of those Tom Brady deep balls? He threw one to a little white wide receiver, maybe a mixed wide receiver, a little guy in the fourth quarter. He's just hung it up 35 yards, dropped it in between the safety. One of the better throws of the weekend from any quarterback. So when I'm seeing Tom Brady pushing the ball down the field, and when I see Ronald Jones and Fournette with a decent offensive line and really good receivers, I'm not worried. I'm not off this Buccaneers bandwagon, but I think some of us got a little bit too excited. I felt like it would click a little bit too early. Scotty Miller, thank you guys. If any of you guys seen that pass was probably the best pass of the weekend. So there was encouraging things. I'm not out on the Buccaneers, and I was watching with someone, and I said, yo, Buccaneers are still going to win this division. It's week 1. It doesn't matter. And I always go back to when I was in attendance. I went to a Bills game. This was like 2004, 2003. Patriots, people were starting to think they were weak. They got to the Super Bowl, but people were starting to think they were weak. So the Bills, week 1, the Bills with Drew Bledsoe beat the Patriots like 43-0. And guess who ended up winning the Super Bowl that year? Patriots. And I was like 14 years old, and I told everyone, listen, the Patriots are still going to win the Super Bowl. It was just one game. So sometimes we need to take a deep breath, and we don't want to get too excited and bet against the Buccaneers on the spreads next week. If you guys think the Buccaneers are the better team, pick them on the spreads. Don't let week 1 against one of the better teams in this league wreck your mind. I think you guys got to stay consistent. Micah Bryan says, it's a lot, guys. Take Denver plus 3.5 if you can, my guys. Did the spread move that much? Last I saw it was a pick-em. Let me check that. I mean, maybe I'm influencing too many people because I've been telling everyone to take the Titans in a pick-em. So let's go see this spread real quick. Sorry about this, fellas, but I got to see if this guy is fugazi with what he's writing. Okay, fair enough. It moved up to plus 3. Wow, that's why you guys got to get in your bets early. You could add a pick-em with the Titans. If you guys go bet now, you're getting plus Titans minus 3 on the road. No, don't do that. Don't do that. That's why you needed to get this in early. and we have to respect Mile High in that altitude. Home field's not going to be the biggest advantage it was this year because no fans, but respect Mile High, respect the altitude. That's a legit home field. It's just one of the most legit home fields in the league. I don't think there's any locks because the Titans are a better team than the Broncos. The only thing the Broncos have going is the altitude tonight. And if you're on some Drew Lock Kool-Aid. If you tell me Drew Lock's going to come out and play great against a very good Titans secondary, fine. But the Broncos, they have problems on defense. And the way to attack the Broncos is to run it right at them. They got Jarrell Casey now, so I think that's going to help an awful lot. But I still think this Broncos defense will be attacked. I think the Titans offense has a better performance than the Broncos offense. And Clowney is playing from what I understood. Maybe that might change. Maybe the altitude might affect some things. But from what I understand, Clowney will be playing. Okay. Oh, well, no one gave me any credit for this, but who was the only one who picked the Rams over the Cowboys? Everyone was calling me crazy for picking the Rams over the Cowboys. But the Rams played better football, and really the Rams should have won by more points. The Rams made mistakes in that fourth quarter that kept it close. I felt like the Rams were about a good 10 points better than the Cowboys throughout that whole game, yet the Cowboys hung around, and it was just another dismal Dak Prescott game against good opposition. And I think we need to look, and I want your guys' opinion. Maybe I'm crazy, but I did say before the game, I'm picking the Rams because I think McVay's a better coach than McCarthy. And I think McCarthy with these Dallas Cowboys has a little bit of potential for disaster, if you guys understand my point. So it wasn't a disaster by any means for Dallas, but I felt like the Rams were a much better team on it. I watched a good portion of the game, and I was very happy that I was able to get nagged that upset. D. Bettis, I left that Rams game alone. I didn't trust neither team. You're probably smart, but a lot of people were saying I agree with every pick you made except the Cowboys Rams, and I'm putting big stacks on the Cowboys. I guess that's why I'm here, because I'm always going to call you guys out on some bullshit if I see it. Sometimes I'm wrong, but I did feel like you guys were reaching a little bit with that Cowboys one. I'm not singling out all of you guys, but you know who you are if you were here lecturing me on the Cowboys. Manuel Jimenez says, thanks, Lawson. What's up, Manuel? I'm glad you hit that Rams one. I'm glad you hit it. Jeffrey Leach, what do you think of the Falcons' performance? Yo, Jeff, I'm really disappointed. I'm in dismay because there's a lot of talent on this team, but there's just wasted players. Like, could you imagine what a functioning team could do with Calvin Ridley? Like, if you even gave Kirk Cousins Calvin Ridley, there's just a lot of excitement lost with Atlanta, and I don't know if it's the offensive scheme. We know Dan Quinn, his defenses suck, and it just comes down to that. But you would like this offensive scheme to be better. It never recovered from the Shanahan era. Remember when they had Shanahan, how good that offense was? But it started with their run, and they were physical, and they had one of the best play-action games in the league outside of the Patriots. We just don't see that anymore. So it is a little bit concerning. What did you guys think of the Falcons? Do you guys got a glass half full analysis, or are you guys half empty like me? Just really disappointed with the Falcons again. Just and I'm not a fan of the team or anything. Just really, really disappointed. I didn't bet them either because I know how inconsistent they are, but just really, really disappointed at this point. Abdul G, do you think the Rams will make the playoffs? No, but there is an extra playoff spot, and we got the Vikings looking a little bit weak. I don't know if you're buying in on the Bears at all. We know the NFC East has some weak teams, so I think there's a possibility, but I would go no right now. But I think that last playoff spot is going to be between them and Arizona. Now, wait until that Arizona-Rams matchup. That's going to be some good stuff. And Arizona beating the 49ers, that's a game I missed. That was one I did put on my upsets. I didn't tell you guys to bet it, but that was one I had a little bit of a feeling about because Kyler Murray. And Also, another reason why I had a good feeling about that is because I liked the moves the Cardinals did on defense. They weren't high budget. They weren't Jadeveon Clowney moves coming towards the defense, but they were role player glue guys coming to this defense. So whenever you make moves like that, you're not going to get a lot of media hype, but it makes a huge difference on the field. And then you add D-Hop to that offensive side of the football. You give Kyler Murray something legitimate, and everyone wants to hate on Cliff Kingsbury. They say he got the job because he's white and because he looks like Sean McVay. Listen, I heard a lot of hate about him, but one thing you can't say about his team has an identity. We got a lot of teams in this league who don't have identities. You'll turn on one team tonight, the New York Giants. They do not have an identity. They haven't had an identity since Tom Coughlin walked out that door. Okay? So there's a lot of teams without identity in this league, but you can say the Cardinals definitely have an identity, and that's why they were able to beat maybe the team with the strongest identity in this league, the 49ers. Because that Arizona system is good, it's nasty, and it brings new perspective and confusion to defenses. It's really, really good, man. What about my Vikings? I talked about the Vikings a lot earlier, but I did tell you guys the Vikings would lose. That's why you guys should have put the money on Green Bay. When I'm a fan of the Vikings and I'm telling you guys it's going to look ugly, sure. And did I overlook Ngakoue a little bit? Sure. He played. He didn't do anything. And the Vikings can't cover. And the Packers dominated that game more than the score told you. The Vikings really only made one stop that whole game on defense. They had the Packers failed on fourth and goal, and then the Vikings got the ball, turnover on downs, and the next play, Kirk Cousins takes a sack for a safety. So that's about where we're at with the Minnesota Vikings at this point. I mean, maybe 9-10 games, but let's not hold our breath if the Vikings are lucky. And I got questions about Zimmer and his leadership. Not that Zimmer is a bad coach, but you guys ever have a feeling that sometimes at a certain point, even the greatest coach, they just reach their limit. They plateau with the team. I feel like the Vikings are on a big plateau. They arrived there before last season. Zamora, you think the Chargers will go with Tyrod all season? Yeah, because I think they're going to keep scrapping games. That was a good game against the Bengals. That was a good scrap win. I think Tyrod gets at least 10 games. We'll see the record after 10 games, and then if it's bad, they're going to put in Herbert. But I have a feeling they're going to keep scrapping out games because that defense can play ball. All right, guys, I'm going to get off of here. I'm going to go get ready for some football, enjoy the games tonight. Spread picks, they'll be up tomorrow morning. I'll probably upload them during probably 1, 2 o'clock Eastern time. So if you're up, you'll be able to see them. But the spread picks will definitely be up when you wake up tomorrow. Appreciate it, guys. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe. Check out my Patreon page as well. That's where I post all of my bets. That's where I post every bet I make, soccer, NFL, so you can always track what I'm doing. Subscribe, hit the like button, share the videos. Make sure you smash that like button.